let's get into it. So, this movie is so long, and the first 20, 30 minutes, just the over exposition of everything. I think that's really where my struggles with the film are rooted, because the middle section is really good, and halfway through, like when you're in the peak of all the different amazing like journeys and adventures, I thought that was so good, and then the ending, well, I love the ending set piece. It's just not like, it just doesn't make sense. Doesn't wrap the bag for me. And the like overly like monologue speeches, like mentioning the collapse of civilization. I just think in order to make this work and to make this version of the story to work, you have to set up Odysseus differently. And there's obviously a lot of Nolan parallels here, which we'll get into with his other work. Now that I'm rewatching some of his old stuff around the Odysseus hype, I think the way he set up as this like beloved family father and husband and respected warrior is what makes all this not make sense. Because if he is the cunning, super genius warrior who came up with the Trojan horse, leading to the sacking of Troy, leading to his PTSD, I don't buy this setup of him being so beloved and everybody wishing for him to come home and like him being this good guy. I just don't buy it. And some of the symbolism stuff did hit me a bit better, from the pin and the Athena statue that he's holding on to with Calypso and throughout the whole journey. I get the Agamemnon punishment and the resistance throughout this whole film for all its characters, except for maybe Tom Holland's character. The punishment is rooted in going to war is bad, pursuing this glory is bad, and doing whatever it takes to succeed is bad. And that is a good moral of the story. But there's another aspect to Odysseus's story which is different from the fate of a lot of these other characters. His PTSD, first of all, because he gets the PTSD and he realizes that this is bad when he is in Troy. And then there's this other element that's added, which is that he doesn't want to go home. And again, I have trouble buying it. And there are these key moments that I think Nolan puts in the film, like when he decides not to follow Agamemnon. It's like symbolic. Like, I don't want to follow Agamemnon anymore, because he's starting to feel a different way about the whole mission they are on in the first place. The idea that Zeus's law is broken by his actions, and he by himself caused this. I think this could just have been employed so much nicer. I think I stand by my very weird take that everything that happens in Ithaca should have been off screen, or at least maybe loaded into the second or third act of the movie, so we get caught up with that later in a more epic way. Because when we know everything that's happening in Ithaca, it becomes very obvious to us. It would have been cooler to really, really lean in on the journey, and that would have made the spectacle aspect of it all merge much, much, much more with the story. Because if Odysseus is traveling around, and then you can take creative liberties and have him meet other travelers, meet other people, go to other towns, and there he hears about Zeus's law being broken, and he hears about the impact of his actions with the Trojan horse causing civilization to fall because of the complete lack of respect for Zeus's law. But sacrificing all the themes of human glory and men wanting to chase ambition, and which is very effectively folded in Interstellar, because in Interstellar you can see the duality of this man who cares so much about his family, who has the best relationship you could have as a widower to your daughter, sort of, and then he also wants to chase not only the saving humanity in Interstellar, but he also wants the glory, and you can relate to those three things, and you can see the stakes. And I just feel like Zeus' law breaks, and he obviously has PTSD, but then, and I feel like this is also something where it gets a little bit jumbled with the crew, because Odysseus has a very complicated relationship to his crew, because it's his crew that he picked out himself, yet he also kind of feels like the crew are like the horrible men that he dislikes now. You could say this is a clever way of creating ambiguity, and a clever way of sort of making it much harder for Odysseus thematically to make decisions, but it doesn't pair with strong decisions. It just makes him seem reckless, because if he's learned something from the Trojan War and from the Trojan horse and from the sacking of Troy, wouldn't that lead him not to put his men in more danger by by shooting the Cyclops like very impulsively? And the siren song thing is one of those moments that I feel like where Nolan sort of his compromises with the source material and the source themes just becomes so clear. If you've learned so much, why take such a big risk by listening to the siren song? Again, I feel like that's those moments are like the moments of the Odysseus from the source material that I'm not that familiar with. But I can. These are things you can assume and guess without being familiar with the source material. It just creates this very fractured sort of character that's not consistent. I don't have too much to say about the villain Robert Pattinson's character and a sign on and the Elliot Page casting again. I don't really care about the race swaps and all that and what the trans actor represents in this context. I just think the Robert Pattinson's character was bad, and this the second viewing I did appreciate more of the backstory he got and the understanding that at least is a little bit baited to us, like the fact that he feels chosen because he didn't get to volunteer for his brother sign on. But still, I mean, this character is awful, and it's like it invades so many great parts. I think the action is great. I'm not a big action guy in general, but the action's great. And the ending action scene was awesome, like the amazing like choreography and the whole scene like in that room, like him fighting all these people. And but then the Robert Pattinson stuff when he just talks and like tells everyone to get the spears. Like I know that's a funny meme, but like it gets worse because of it. Maybe it adds. I mean, I don't mind memes in general. I guess I can take the price of that. But also, me thematically, again, storytelling wise, like what is the point of going back and killing everyone? Isn't that exactly what you've been told to not do and the reason for your rebirth? Because if you want it to be rebirth, like present us with a strong character in the beginning who we see the flaws of, and then the journey will help him deal with his flaws and makes him realize how to deal with his flaws. That is on paper here, but it's just not executed well at all. And in the end of the second act, I really realized which moment of the film I started feeling like this is too long and this just doesn't work. And that's the moment with Calypso, like the big reckoning moment when she realizes she has to let him go. And the whole Calypso plot line or that whole side plot just isn't exposed at all well. Like you need to be so familiar, I feel like, with the source material to understand what Nolan is trying to do here. And I just don't get it, which again like is an L for me, you know, because and I'm complaining about overly exposure in the dialogue, but like you can do this with actions, you know. He's being told by Calypso that his heart has been speaking to him and his mind is catching up with that he wants to go home, but like just show that. Like show that by consistently giving us the statue. Show that by giving us a moment when he risks it all for the statue. Oh, you forgot the statue in the Cyclops cave. That's why he has to go back, and that's why the statue means something to us beyond what's been told to us in a flashback 5 minutes ago. Because there's a lot of moments like that, a lot of reliance on those flashbacks. The political commentary of like society falling apart is an interesting take. I don't mind that in itself, but it's like the end of the Bronze Age. Like, yeah, that sucks, but like we got this much, much, much better civilization for everyone now. A big interesting talking point that somebody commented on my last video, and that is like the super based, like deep take, is that this film is actually a conservative take on the world becoming corrupted by bad values, which is sort of a traditional socially conservative take that if we went back to more conservative values and morals, the world will be a better place. I find that actually pretty interesting because I think that speaks to the politics of our time a bit more from today too. I think unintentionally from Nolan, or this is intentional. Like everyone yearns for a better past. Like MAGA originally yearned for like the old America pre the current globalized version of the world. And now the left is kind of yearning for a pre-Trump era, and this like member berry nostalgia fetish that everyone has is that a core part of this film. Like the world changes because of people's actions because they want to get the bag, and then you yearn for the better time from before. And that movie does paint up that well, but in the world, not in the characters. And to me, the story and the arcs have to be grounded in a character. Everyone he meets has different takes on and different reasons for hating men who go to war. And I wish Odysseus would learn more for every step more clearly and it will be a bit more woven together. Because now it's like a mix of really cool visual set pieces and just like lessons in human failures and human lessons in why men do bad things in pursuit of what they think is good. And you need to show why they think is good, which is something I think Troy does much better. This is obviously a big recurring theme for Nolan in general. I feel like all his movies paint this like chasing greatness and getting lost in the sauce sort of narrative. And Interstellar does it really well. Inception does it a little bit worse than Interstellar, but probably better than this. The fact that he's being told all his emotions and then just takes a leap of faith for no price. Like those leaps of faith have to come with a price. And we've seen Odysseus at sea lost for the whole movie almost. So there's no new stakes there. Like give up the statue. Let go. Actually let Penelope somehow, I know that's like impossible from where he is, but like something has to give. And that's kind of what Tom Holland's character and Anne Hathaway's character do, in that they let go and they just accept another suitor, but it's just never really pushed over the finish line in a way that matters to the audience, or at least to me. Anne Hathaway is like the perfect Nolan cast member because there's very little subtlety in her performance here. And I guess in general, I'm not the biggest Anne Hathaway stan to have seen all her stuff, but like I don't feel like there's much subtlety in how she performs. And that's a similar gripe I have with her in Interstellar. But hey, she's a great actress, one of the best actresses of our time. So people are going to interpret these things exactly the way they want to, and that's the post-truth sort of world we live in.